Okay, let's just dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking the story of a man whose career honestly reads less like a standard sports contract and way more like a glorious romantic tragedy. Welcome to this explainer on Francesco Totti. If you're looking to understand the absolute peak of sporting loyalty, tactical innovation, and just pure unfiltered passion, you are in exactly the right place. But to really understand the man, we actually have to start at the very end. Picture this. It's May 2017. The roaring Stadio Olimpico is packed to the absolute rafters. Grown men and women are just openly weeping in the stands. Totti, taking a lap of honor with his family, pulls out a letter and reads this to his people. I cried a lot, every single day, by myself like a lunatic, because 25 years are not going to be forgotten. The immense emotional weight of his departure wasn't just about a player retiring, it was literally about a city losing its beating heart on the pitch. And the sheer scale of his achievement? It's mind-boggling. 786 games and 307 goals, all for one single club. I mean, in modern football, where players bounce between leagues for higher paychecks, these numbers are practically mythical. They immediately establish his absolute on-pitch greatness. But to understand how he reached these impossible heights, we need to rewind where it all began. Let's look at Section 1, The Boy Who Chose Rome, a life dedicated to Roma. For Totti, AS Roma was never just a football club, right? It was a bloodline. He didn't even get to know his grandfather Gianluca well, but Gianluca passed a massive love for Roma down to Francesco's father, who then passed it right down to him. Growing up in the cobblestone streets of his neighborhood, San Giovanni, Totti was literally never seen without a ball. It really felt like destiny. But when he was just a 13-year-old kid, he faced a massive choice. One day, there's a knock on his family's apartment door. On the other side were men wearing red and black, directors from the powerhouse AC Milan, offering incredible wealth, prestige, and guaranteed trophies at any cost. But his mother, Fiorella, threw her hands up and turned them down flat. They chose the Roma reality. Family blood, local loyalty, and the soul of the city. It was essentially a blood oath to Rome. That childhood loyalty eventually forged his destiny. Moving on to Section 2, King of the Capital, the defining 2000/01 Scudetto. This is the era where Totti transformed from a beloved local prospect into a true monarch of Italian football. The crucial point here is how this legendary squad was actually built. Manager Fabio Capello constructed his entire system around a 24-year-old Totti. He placed him in the Trequartista role, that's the creative playmaker operating just behind the strikers. And what an attack it was. He was feeding lethal finishers like Gabriele Battista and Vincenzo Montella. This tactical setup allowed Totti to completely orchestrate the offense, proving exactly what happens when he is empowered to deliver for his people against bitter rivals like Juventus and Lazio. The climax of that season arrived on June 17, 2001. Imagine a sun-soaked Stadio Olimpico. Just 15 minutes in, Totti fires the ball past Gianluigi Buffon to open the scoring, ripping off his shirt and grabbing cameramen in this wild celebration. Montella doubles the lead at 39 minutes, and Batistuta seals the 3-1 victory late in the game. Fans absolutely flooded the hallowed turf in tears. Roma had secured its third-ever Scudetto, and Francesco Totti was undeniably crowned the King of Rome. But Totti's legacy isn't just emotional. It's deeply tactical. Let's pivot to Section 3, Inventing the False Nine, a Tactical Evolution. As he matured, his incredible football IQ sparked a shift that would fundamentally change the modern game. So, a false nine is essentially a striker who deliberately drops deep into the midfield. What this does is pull central defenders completely out of position, creating huge pockets of space for wingers and midfielders to attack. Under manager Luciano Spalletti, Roma utilized this avant-garde 4-6-0 formation, where Totti pioneered this exact role. Because Roma effectively played without a traditional striker, Totti became the focal point who just did it all. The contrast is pretty stark when you think about it. A traditional number 9 stays high up the pitch, battling center backs, waiting for service, focused purely on finishing. Totti's false 9 did the exact opposite. He dropped deep, linked up the play with his masterful one-touch passing, created massive pockets of space. And yet, and this is the crazy part, he still managed to score relentlessly. He wasn't just a passionate local boy, he was a true footballing pioneer who set the blueprint for the modern attackers we see today. Which brings us to the ultimate test of his career. Section 4, Turning Down the Galacticos, a story of loyalty over trophies. By 2005, his brilliance was undeniable, and the biggest club in the world came knocking. I want you to imagine facing this central question. What do you want to do with your life, Francesco? Real Madrid's president, Florentino Perez, wanted Totti to join his collection of Galacticos alongside absolute legends like Zidane, Beckham, and Ronaldo. Totti faced a massive internal conflict. He could have easily been a global superstar, practically guaranteed to win the Champions League. Real Madrid offered a staggering €12 million a year in salary, massive image rights bonuses, and the highly coveted number 10 shirt. But Totti asked himself, how could he leave? How could he sit in a locker room in Madrid, hear that Roma had lost a derby back home, and not be able to help? He even thought about the kitman at Roma's Trequartista training ground who folded his towels exactly the way he liked them. His suffocating love for Rome was just simply too strong. So he stayed. And the city returned that love in ways that honestly defy logic. Consider this true, wild anecdote. While visiting the Rebibbia prison for a charity event, an inmate pushed to the front of the line for a photo. Why? Because the young man had actually finished his sentence a week earlier, but when he heard Totti was visiting, he begged the warden to let him stay in jail for an extra week just to get a picture with his captain. I mean, that perfectly encapsulates the absolute obsessive devotion the city of Rome had for him. To them, he was family. But of course, his career wasn't without its massive trials. Here is Section 5, the World Cup Miracle, a race against time. This is the climax of his physical achievements and the ultimate ordeal of his entire career. The sheer willpower required here was staggering. In February 2006, a horrific tackle breaks his fibula and tears his ligaments. The surgeon puts 13 screws and a metal plate into his leg. Missing the World Cup in Germany seemed completely certain. But Totti underwent this miraculous, agonizing rehabilitation, working out in a pool with garbage bags taped over his wounds. By June, against all odds, he makes the squad. And by July, he is playing a full 120 minutes in the semifinal against the host nation, ultimately helping Italy win the entire tournament. The defining moment of that run came in the round of 16 against Australia. Deep in extra time, Italy is awarded a penalty. The pressure is suffocating. If he misses, Italy goes home. Totti steps up, laser-focused, and drills it into the net. As he later described it, the bomb in my head went off when I saw the net bulge. I was so crushed by the pressure that I didn't even trust my eyes. It was the ultimate redemption, converting immense, crushing pressure into pure glory. Eventually, though, time catches up with everyone. We arrive at Section 6, a bitter, beautiful farewell, the end of an era. This is the final, painful chapter of his 28-year career at the club. The end of his playing days was marked by a deeply fractured relationship with manager Luciano Spalletti. Ironically, the very man who helped invent his false nine role. After a match, Spalletti screamed at him in the dressing room, right in front of his teammates. "Enough! You've broken my balls. You pretend to command, but you should just leave. I'm done with you." We are looking at the raw, unfiltered reality of an aging legend losing his grip on the starting lineup, and a manager desperately trying to move a team past its iconic figurehead. And the situation deteriorated to the point where Totti was actually banished from the Trequartista training ground. He described it as the most humiliating punishment of his life, literally being chased out of his own home. This bitter exile, this heavy feeling of being pushed into retirement before he felt fully ready, perfectly sets the stage for his intensely emotional, unfiltered goodbye to the fans. Which brings us right back to that tearful night at the Stadio Olimpico. He looked out at the weeping crowd and confessed, "I take off my shirt for the last time and I fold it nicely. Now I am scared." It's a deeply vulnerable final thought. After giving his entire life, his body, and his youth to one single city, stepping into the unknown was terrifying. And it forces us to ask, what does it truly cost to be a one-club legend? It's a fascinating question to leave you with today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.